Okay, I've been watching a lot of webinars lately, and I really hate it when there's a long introduction. So we'll get right into it. JavaScript is a really, really easy language to learn. You can learn it quickly, and since most programming languages are basically the same, once you learn the basic concepts of how to program in JavaScript, you'll learn a lot of things that you can then apply to other languages that you go on to try to learn. Why JavaScript? Because it's really easy to get started. You don't need any sort of a special developer's environment. You just need a text editor and a web browser, and you can write all kinds of cool effects and programs in JavaScript. You can do all kinds of fun things on a web page, effects and animations and games, or more business-like stuff if you want to, like validating a web page. And because everyone maintains a web page, sooner or later, it's probably one of the most useful languages you can learn. So without further ado, here are the basic concepts we're going to be covering in this tutorial. We're going to learn how to read content or clicks from a web page and how to write content onto a web page. We're going to learn what variables are. We're going to learn how to write if statements. We're going to learn how to apply string and number and date functions to our variables. We're going to learn how to work with arrays, which is just lists of variables. We're going to learn how to write for loops and while loops. And we're going to learn, as we're doing it actually, we're going to learn how to use jQuery. Now I've got to tell you, all of these except the first and the last are going to be found in any programming language that you try to learn. So they're really important, and this is a fun and easy place to learn them. So let's get started with the first one, how to put a button on a web page and add a click event to it. I'll show you before we do it right here. What we're going to do is type input type equals button, which is basic HTML. We give it an ID, and then we use that ID to say that ID.click in jQuery. Like if its ID was some ID, I would say some ID.click, and then pass it a function that says alert hello. I'm going to talk about this parentheses function, open paren, open brace. There's a reason we do it that way. You get used to it. It looks a little bit ugly, but once you've done it a few 100 million times, it just becomes totally second nature. So here we go. I've got a new folder called JavaScript tutorial. Open on the other window. There's nothing in it. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new text document, which I will call test.html. Okay. Now, just this once, I'm going to go to Open With and choose Notepad. Just to prove that you don't need any fancy text editors, you can do anything. And here I'll type input, type equals button, ID equals my button, value equals click me. I'm going to save this. Now I'm going to double click on test, opens up in a browser, and look, there's a button called click me. Now, of course, I don't actually recommend using Notepad. There are a ton of good editors out there. The one that I like and I've been using for years is called Edit Plus. So here's that same thing in Edit Plus. You'll see now the syntax is highlighted. I've got line numbers. I've got my directory on the left. It's a little bit easier to work with. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this over to the left and take my web browser, move it to the right. Did you know in Windows, if you press the Windows key, otherwise known as the Command key, and the left or right arrow, it'll automatically line these up for you. Now the next question is where to put your JavaScript. Turns out there's a whole lot of different answers to that. You could put the JavaScript right inside the tag like this, on click equals alert hello. Save that, refresh, and it says hello. But that's kind of frowned on. We don't do it that way anymore. Instead, what we want to do is, look at this. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to say File, New HTML page. That's just going to give me the basic structure of an HTML page. And then I'm going to paste it right in here. Close that. Save as. Test. Okay. Replace it. And I don't need all this meta stuff. Okay, but what I do want is it starts off with a doc type, HTML, a head tag, a title, which I'll change right now to JavaScript Lesson 1. Then we close the head and the body. Now here's something that has changed a lot just in the last few years. It used to be that your JavaScript would go right in here, in the head. And now, probably because of the search engines that want to grab the first content on your page, and also because a lot of the script wants to render what's on your page after it's been loaded, the new philosophy is no. Unless you have a reason to want to preload your script, you should put it down here at the end of your body. So that's where we're going to put the script. And I'm going to show you how to write your first on-click event. Notice we said ID equals my button. Now, if I just wanted to use pure JavaScript, I could write it like this. Document.getElementById, parentheses, my button, dot onClick equals something. But that's doing it the hard way. It's really wordy this way. There's a much easier way of doing it, which can reference anything on your page the same way that CSS does, and that is jQuery. So I'm going to show you how we can just put one line in that will add jQuery to your page and make the rest of your JavaScript programming so much easier. What you want to do is this. Go over to your browser, and I want you to search for jQuery, J-Q-U-E-R-Y, space CDN. CDN, which stands for Content Distributed Network, means it's available on servers located all over the world, and it's free and available for you to get and reference. You don't have to download it. And click on jQuery CDN, and here's the latest version, jQuery. Now, there's really no reason to get the uncompressed version unless you plan on hacking jQuery yourself. So you want to get the minified version because it'll be smaller, it'll load faster, just a fewer bits, especially for your mobile users. So I'm going to right-click here and choose Copy Link Location. And then I'm going to go over here, and this is something I am going to put in my head because I want it to load before anything else. I'm going to say script source equals quote, and I'm going to paste it, unquote, close bracket, and then I'm going to do a slash script right away. Just like that. That's all I have to do. And now I have all of these useful tools that are available in jQuery to me, including I don't have to type all of this anymore. Instead, I do it like that. The $ means jQuery, and then in quotes I say £. Now, if you've ever edited anything by ID in CSS, you know the £, means ID. Just like the dot, if this were a dot, that would be the class. % is the ID. Now we can say my button dot click equals do something. What are we going to have it do? Well, I'm going to show you the slower way of doing it first, just so you understand why the shortcut is written the way the shortcut is. I could write a function now. Function say hello. Alert hello. Okay? I've defined a function now. If I run that function, say hello, it's going to do this. Now if I put say hello here, no parentheses, I'm just saying my button.click, I'm going to run this function. It'll go to find the function named say hello, and it'll run it. Let's see if this works. Refresh. There it is. But the thing is, I don't want to declare a whole function and give it a name for every little thing that I want jQuery to do. That would be cumbersome. So the way that I'm going to write it is sometimes called an anonymous function, where I don't give it a name. Just some empty parentheses like that. And then I take this whole thing. Let me get rid of the say hello. I get rid of this whole thing, and I put it right there. So now instead of saying I'm giving you a name, find a function with that name and run that function, I'm saying I'm passing you an anonymous function that I want you to run all in one fell swoop. And like I was saying before, you're going to find working with jQuery that you type open parentheses function, open close, open brace, like this, so many times it'll become second nature to you. You won't even notice that everything that you do, every event, every function is going to be written like this, and you get used to it. So this is how we write alert hello, and we call it bind it to my button. Save it over here, refresh, hello. Okay, so now I've shown you two places where your JavaScript can live. I showed how you can add it right in the tag itself with onClick. I've shown how you can put it in a pair of script tags at the top or the bottom of the page. The third one, and this is the cleanest one and the one that you're probably going to want to use the most for a mature project, is to put it into its own file. So to do that, I can create a new file. It doesn't have to be any type of special text. And I can take this. You don't need the script tags. It assumes the script tags are already there. Just take this, cut it from here, put it in there, and I'm going to save it to the same directory as test.js. Okay, so now there's a file called test.js. So what? Let me go back here to test.html. I'm going to take this script and say source equals test.js. Now it's going to read it from a local file, and everything will still work. Let's give it a try. Refresh. There we go. But look at how much cleaner the page is now without all of that JavaScript on it. And think about this. If you put your script in a page like this, you can reference that page from all kinds of pages all over your site, and they'll all be able to use the same JavaScript without having to write anything more than once. Okay, so I said the first thing I was going to show you was how to read and write to a web page. Well, we learned how to read a click event. We haven't really learned how to read content or write to it yet. So why don't we do that? To do that, we're going to need either some input boxes or some div tags. Let's create one of each, okay? So we'll go back to test.html, and right here, let's do a couple of break tags, and let's create a your name input, type equals text, ID equals your name, size equals 30. Okay, save that. And then the other thing I'm going to do to put a break here is I'm going to say div ID equals output /div. Now right now, If you know what a div is, it's just a generic container. It can have any size and shape. It's great for writing things into. It's great for backgrounds and squares. It's really one of the most useful tags there is. What we're going to do is we're going to reference it by ID and start spitting content into it and use it as a place to show our content as we create it. So let's give this a try. Save this, switch over here, refresh. There's your name. Now div output is there, it just doesn't contain anything yet. See, I'm going to right click and say inspect. And I can see right after div your name, there it is, div output. Nice empty set. This, by the way, when I chose inspect, is a utility for Firefox called Firebug. If you're in Chrome, there's also a really nice console already built in that you can access the same way. Right-click and choose Inspect. I've just been using Firebug for so long, I guess I'm kind of used to it. So you can go to the Tools menu and choose Add-ons. And let me see, there it is, Firebug 2.0.11. So if you don't have that, you could type it in up here, search for it, and add it. It'll install itself in a few seconds. It's free. It's a good thing to have. So let's just do the old thing where you type your name and it says, hello, it's nice to meet you. Okay? Pretty straightforward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be referencing the your name box. So I'm going to say, all right, the ID is your name, and I'll do it on change. On change happens as soon as you either click or tab out of a box. Anonymous function. And what we'll do is we'll say var message equals hello, maybe comma space, we're going to create a variable called your name. And I realized that I got a little bit ahead of myself here. I really should have grabbed the value first. So why don't we do that? We'll say var your name equals, I'm just going to grab this right here and say .val, which is jQuery for whatever is typed into an input box, the value. Okay, now at this point I could alert the message and I should see it work. Let's give it a try. My name is Rob. I'm going to hit tab, and there it is. Hello, Rob. It's nice to meet you. So now, what have we done here? We've captured whatever was typed into the your name box with yourname.val. We assigned it to a variable called your name. So now your name equals whatever was in that box, and now we can use that variable like this, hello, your name. You'll also see that the way that we piece pieces of string together in JavaScript, which is called concatenating, if you like using long words, is with the plus sign. So we put quotes around pieces of text and then a plus sign to say, then put in this, then another plus sign, and then another piece of text. So now instead of alert message, we want to put it into that div we created called output. And we reference that the same way we referenced my button and your name with a $sign. We'll say $output .html message. Let's give that a try. maybe give my full name, Robert. As soon as I click outside of it, it changes. Doesn't matter whether you use the tab key or a click. As long as the focus leaves the box, the change event will kick in. Now this was using a method called .html, which basically says replace the contents of output with message. There were other things I could do, like I could say append. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to put a break tag on here. Refresh this and say Alvin, Simon, Theodore. Every time I type, it appends it, because over here I said on change, get the name, redefine message. So every time we run this, message is being defined as something else, and then append it to output. Hope that makes sense. I just hit pause now and hid the directory listing and increased the font size. That should make it a little bit easier to read. The really cool thing about this is that you can change almost everything about every part of your web page using these jQuery tags. For instance, if I wanted to also, besides output the message, change the value from click me to something else, I would simply reference it as hashtag my button, same as I did to add the click event. And then there are other properties that I could give it. Let's see, it's the value. So I would say attribute value. I'm going to set to your name. I don't need any quotes or anything because it's a variable. Okay, save this. Theodorus. It says, hello, Theodorus, and it changed the value. Now we'll change it back to my name, Rob. Every time I do it, it'll change it. You can change everything about it. I could change the title. I could change the color. Whatever you want. I want to talk just for a second about this little word var that I'm putting before the variable names. It is technically optional. It's a really good idea to use it. Basically what it does is it says if I declare a variable inside of a function like this, I only have to worry about that variable inside of the function. I don't have to worry that some other JavaScript that I'm also using on the page might also use the same variable name. When you read books on it and they get boring, they call this the scope. The scope of your variable is it available to the whole page and the whole JavaScript, or only this little piece? And there are fun little tests that we can do. Like up here at the top, I could say var your name equals Brian, and then maybe take the my button, instead of saying alert hello, I'm going to say alert your name. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Refresh, click me, it says Brian. Why? Because it was set up here. Now, I'm also going to take the on change, where we said var your name equals the input box value. I'm going to do the same thing, an alert. Alert from within the function your name equals plus your name. Okay? So I'm referencing the same variable, just like I did here. Now I'm going to say Alice and hit tab. Whoa, bummer. Okay, it's a good chance to show you how to use the console. I hit F12, the console comes up. Okay, I just hadn't reloaded or something like that. From within the function, your name equals Allison. Okay, but when I click up here, it still says Brian. And that's because var your name said, okay, only within this function, I'm going to redefine your name as whatever I set it to. As soon as this function is done running, this copy of your name is going to go away. And if there happens to be another copy up here, which is more global, that's the one which will be used when something else, like say this function right here, runs.